Welcome. We're David and Hillary. This is our movie POSTview of the movie Last Breath. So we have a preview of this same movie on our YouTube channel, The David and Hillary Show. If you are looking for a review of the movie with no spoilers, you probably want to stop this and go find our movie preview of the same movie, which has no spoilers. But we're getting ready to talk about it, and tell you all the stuff. So
getting ready to spoil everything.
So if you're here on purpose, welcome. And here we go. So
I'm not going to spoil the review.
Well,
I'm going to try not to.
We both try not to. So Last Breath, it was a really good movie. We both really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And if you're still here, you probably saw it. And it was about the divers go down and crap happens. You got a bad storm on the surface and the umbilical breaks, and then you think Chris is done for. Although you kind of know that's what the movie's about, but also like what's going to happen. And then the longer and longer and longer it goes, you're like, there's no way. Maybe it is about a body recovery. If you didn't read too much about the movie before you saw it, and you think, oh, they're going to go back and be respectful and recover the body and don't just leave him down there, but there's no way. And then he makes it.
Especially when things are based on a true story, you're like, okay, a lot of times that's when stories are sad.
Yeah.
Just because you're like, well, this actually happened. We're just going to report, good and bad, everything that happened. Right. So I get a little nervous sometimes when they're true stories, because that doesn't mean it's a happy ending.
Yeah.
So yeah, Chris became disconnected at over 300 feet below the surface.
Right.
They only have a few minutes of air in their backup tanks. So it doesn't, like, most of the air comes through what they call the umbilical.
Right.
And that's fine. They've got lots of time to go down and do their work. But if anything happens, there's only a few minutes of air in the backup tank. And that's a mix of helium and oxygen. They're thinking, what did I say? I think it's just that oxygen is so much more saturated that they think that that's possibly why he did so well, actually, that it was such a good mix. They said this mix coupled with the extreme cold may have helped him to survive.
Maybe. So,
yeah, but it was 30 minutes total from the umbilical cord break
to the rescue.
Yeah, to the rescue. So
that's a long time with only we both remembered it saying 10 minutes in the movie, but then we did so much reading afterwards, and most of the other places said that Chris only had 5 minutes of air in the backup tank. So that was confusing to us. Whatever it was,
fact checking going on.
Whatever it was, he was out for a while before he got rescued, and the fact that he survived was crazy. And the actual account said that he was revived with just 2 breaths. So
yeah, I think they showed that on the movie, that he was giving him CPR, right, or mouth to mouth.
Well, I didn't know how accurate it was, but just the fact that, they didn't have to do chest compressions or anything. Mm-hmm. It was just like he was not breathing, but he was not super duper hard to bring back. He just needed a little bit of help.
Yeah,
the whole thing is crazy.
So my question, who would do this job?
In real life.
Like, this is so dangerous.
Yeah. I don't think I would do it.
Yeah. I don't know. I was thinking, what would you have to pay me to go down to the depths? And,
just to be disconnected from your family and everybody for that long, to get ready on the front end and to decompress on the back end so that you can do it without dying. And then just the dangers of being down.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I saw on the notes you said the average pay is about $125,000 a year.
That's the average.
Yeah.
They said experienced divers can make up to like $165K.
Okay.
Which is good money.
Yeah.
It's good money, and I can understand, but you
risk.
still have to be a special kind of person to want to suit up and go down there and be in that environment where so many chances for something to go wrong. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I liked in the movie that Craig, the dive supervisor, when he asked I don't know what you call him, but I call him underwater drone. The underwater drone, he asked the man that normally ran that to go and try to rescue Chris, and he was said, "No, I mean it's just too dangerous. One false move. I'm not going to be the reason why he doesn't make it." And Craig was like, "All right, well, move over because I'm responsible for him, and I'm going to get him."
Yep.
And of course, he couldn't because Chris had tethered himself to the top of that. I think they called it the manifold,
Right.
that cage-like material at the top, so that he wouldn't float away. So that when Dave came back, he'd be able to find him. So it was all made sense, except couldn't unhook that with the machine. It wasn't quite that have the dexterity to do that. But I just love that Craig was like, "Well, I got to try. Somebody's got to try. If you're not going to do it, I'll do it."
Yeah, and as as the accident is unfolding, and Dave is getting pulled, and Chris is getting pulled because the bell is being pulled by the ship above because of the bad weather. So all of this is happening, and Chris realizes his cord is gonna snap, and he's gonna be detached.
Yep.
And I just love that those last few minutes where Dave tells him, "Whatever you do, get up to the top of the manifold. I can't find you unless you get up here.
I can't rescue if I can't find you."
Right. I can't rescue if I can't find you. It's so dark down there, and he could be anywhere.
Yeah.
And so that's Chris's goal, is to get to the top. He has to climb up to the top of this, what you said it was a manifold. I don't remember the name of it.
I think the equipment was a manifold, and it had kind of like a cage around it,
Right.
which is maybe to protect it from debris or animals or something. I don't know.
Yeah. So he's up there, and so smart. We don't see him attach himself to it, but he knows I'm probably going to pass out. And so he doesn't want to just float away. So he locks himself in so that when the rescue team comes back, he'll be right there where he's supposed to be. I just thought that was really smart.
Yeah.
I had a question. I think we both did. So when Dave gets back up into the bell, and Duncan he's been there the whole time. He's kind of overseeing the dive. They go back finally to try to when it's like they get pulled away, and then finally the ship gets control back, and they come back over the dive site, and then they're going to go back down to try to rescue Chris. But remember, they're pulling him back up on just the one umbilical. So so Dave has the one umbilical, and we are both thinking, why isn't Duncan pulling that up in the bell, like helping them? It just didn't make any sense. I never heard it explained.
Well, when the umbilical snapped, when Chris's umbilical snapped, Duncan pulls it up and is looping it up and storing it inside the bell, which is what you would do. I think he did the same thing for Dave, but they don't really show it that much. But so my thing is, there would be friction on the umbilical against the edge of the landing platform beneath the bell, but probably more when there's weight on it than when there's not weight on it. And maybe that was the difference. But I thought, why can't Duncan be pulling the umbilical up as Dave is trying to climb it? And both things could happen at the same time. There was never any addressing of why they didn't try to do that. Duncan, played by Woody Harrelson, is just kind of sitting there like,
yeah,
you can do it. You can do it. I'm like, pull on the umbilical. Give the man a hand. What are you doing?
Right, because Dave is trying to climb the umbilical with the dead weight of
Chris,
this passed out diver hooked to him. That was intense.
That was one thing we didn't see addressed in any of the stuff that we read after watching the movie. But I thought it was interesting that the character of Dave was supposed to be this super hard-edged guy. And I did read where apparently that's true. He was kind of, distant and just, I don't know, strong silent type or whatever.
Sure.
But he obviously cared very much about rescuing Chris. He was like, we're gonna get him. And I hope it's not a body recovery, but either way, we're not leaving him down there.
Right.
And so, and then another scene, Dave had told Chris before the dive. Chris had a picture of his fiance, and Dave was like, don't spend too much time staring at that. Once we get down there, we're in work mode and you can't be distracted. And he was giving him a hard time. Then we find out later, Dave has a picture of his baby girls hidden in his duffel or whatever it was. So it was interesting where they kind of were like, this guy's hard edged and kind of a jerk, and he's hard to get to
Super
know
tough.
and all the things. But then down underneath it, he was kind of a softie too, and a really good guy.
Yeah. So when they revive Chris in the bell, like you said, after 2 breaths, but it took a minute. Like they're waiting there. They're worried. They're not sure if he's going to
Well,
be.
in the movie, it took forever because they're
Yeah.
doing it for dramatic effect. I
Yeah.
don't have a clue what it was like in real life, but
So they said that in the movie, Chris's first words after coming to, he kind of wakes up and he looks over at Duncan and or over at Dave, and he's like, Dave, you okay? Like, this is the guy that's been unconscious on the floor of the ocean
yeah,
for 30 minutes, and his first words are, Dave, are you okay?
that's awesome.
And I read it online, and it said that might seem too Hollywood for some people, but those really were his first words, because that's just the kind of guy he is. He's just, I guess, a really caring guy.
Yeah.
So, and this was also supposed to be Duncan's last dive.
Yeah. Well, it was supposed to be his last dive, and everything got cut short, of course. And they said at the end of the movie that Duncan was allowed to go back down and help Dave and Chris. They all 3 went back, from what I understand, about 3 weeks later, and finished that assignment, which I thought was cool. They didn't really address, we didn't find anywhere that addressed whether Duncan was able to continue working that job after that, or if that was it. But they did at least let him go down and finish that assignment, which was cool.
I think, too, how important it would be for all 3 of those guys to be able to go back down, do a successful dive,
Yeah.
face all of that, and then, sure, you can choose to be done after that, but
yeah,
not leave it like that.
You'd want to finish with a win.
Right.
Yeah. Which the recovery, the rescue and Chris living is a win, but to be able to go down and actually do the work that you were originally there to do, and to kind of finish with some normalcy, I think,
It's important.
would be mentally and, well, psychologically, I guess that's mentally, but that would be important to be able to finish that way, I think.
And I wonder, too, one of the things that we know as we're watching the movie, that on the surface of the water, the ship that is kind of the main place that's like dropping the bell down, and then the bell drops the divers down. That ship at the top is the one that's in the storm. There's a really bad storm, and that's I don't know if they said that the storm caused the equipment to fail, but it felt like that had a part in why everything broke.
Yeah, the thrusters or stabilizers, whatever they were, yeah.
And I was just wondering, even before they started, the mom in me was thinking, hey guys, do we think it's really safe to go down here? But, I would feel like that even if it wasn't a storm. So, but yeah, I just wondered, like, what are the protocols for that? Have they changed since that event? Or maybe it's not even a problem usually. Maybe the surface activity doesn't really affect what's going on underneath. But I was just curious. Again, that wasn't addressed, but I would be curious to know, what are the protocols? Have they changed? Does it matter? Those are my questions.
Facts not in evidence.
That's right.
Don't know the answer to that, but that's interesting to think about.
Yeah.
Well, it was so great that Chris survived. We talked earlier a little bit about some of the medical theories. The oxygen was so rich that maybe it kind of hung around in his system, which helped him. And with the water being so cold, it slowed his body down and allowed him to last longer and to be revived. But they, I forget where it was that we read this. We do so much reading after we watch these movies, but there were medical attempts to explain all of it, but eventually the medical people said, but even all those factors that may have contributed to him making it, really and truly, medically, he should not have survived. And even if we're going to say, well, he survived, which he did, there's no way he should have survived with 0 brain damage.
Yeah. Amazing.
But he did.
Yeah.
And so I just, any of the things that we saw, nobody used the word miracle, but I thought, was this a miracle? Did God save Chris for a specific reason? We may never know.
Yeah.
But it made me think of that question.
One of the things that I forgot to mention, this was a shorter movie. What did you say? Start to finish
133.
133. And you and I have both watched like scary ocean movies, right? But those are fiction. Those are, well, some of those aren't all fiction, but maybe the shark movies or the Jurassic Park movies or the Megalodon movies, right? And you're in the water and you're just, tense waiting for that animal or creature to attack. And what I realized partway through this movie was that, number one, we didn't see any fish. They didn't even act like there were going to be any down there. I don't know if it was because of the depth that they were at, but it was not really an issue at all. But I felt probably more scared and more nervous than, even though I knew, there's probably not even going to be any, there's not going to be any shark encounters or octopus or any kind of whale encounter. Like this was just about being in a dark, deep place with no air. And that was scarier to me than those other movies. Well, you are on the edge of your seat.
That's not really my area of expertise, but I thought that there are creatures that live at different depths and some that can survive pretty deep that others can't. 300 feet, if you think about it, is just flip a football field from goal line to goal line up on its end. And that's 300 feet, which is a lot, but then it's also not, because I think the ocean is way, way deeper than that.
Right.
And I think there are creatures that live pretty far down. So it was kind of weird to me that they never saw one fish or one, giant squid or whatever would be down there. So it's neither here nor there, but I noticed that too. I kept thinking, whether there's going to be some kind of sea creature that is part of this story or not, they got to show something, and they never did. And I guess they just thought that's not what this story is about.
It was still very intense.
Yeah.
The other thing I really loved at the end, and again, it's just the mom in me, but I love when they show the pictures of the actual people during the credits. And so this was, of course, a true story. And they even showed some footage, I think, from Chris's wedding reception. Was that the actual footage?
Yeah.
So that was fun. We are credit watchers. I don't know if you know that. But we
get to see the whole hour and 33 minutes.
That's right. We got all our money's worth. We stayed till the last credit. But I love when they show the pictures and you get to see the actual people. That's really fun.
Yeah.
So good stuff. I highly recommend this movie.
Well, yeah, this is our post view, so hopefully you saw it. But if you decided I don't care about the spoilers, I want to watch this video anyway. Thank you for joining us either way. And if you haven't seen it, check it out. It's a great movie. But for now, we're David and Hillary.
The movie was Last Breath.
And that's our post view.